Welcome back to Mayflower Sanctuary for the final episode of this series. Well, I start the show with some sad news that Brian, who I filmed recently, had only just found his forever home when he tragically died in an accident last week. So we send his family all our love at this very sad time. So back to today's show. Now you probably think that disabled dogs have a very difficult job of finding a forever home, but not necessarily. So coming up on today's show, we meet the deaf but adorable Archie, whose video has achieved almost 3,000 views on Facebook. Jenny Foxall Lord brings us up to date on the refurbishment of 2 of the kennel blocks. We meet Jimmy, the disabled dog from Cyprus, who's got a new lease of life thanks to Mayflower. And we see that the work that the staff do every day just to keep the sanctuary going. Now I'd like to introduce you to Archie. Now when I first met him, I always remember he came trotting over to see me at the front of his kennel. He was all calm and dignified, unlike the other dogs who were giving it yar 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 at the bars. And I remember putting my fingers through the mesh to tickle him, and he rolled on his back and he's squirming and wriggling with delight. Let's take a look. Given his very noisy neighbours, maybe being deaf is actually a bonus. Oh, Archie.
This is Archie. He's 1 year old. He's a Staffordshire Bull Terrier. He is actually deaf. He was brought into us by a lady and man that couldn't cope with him, who didn't actually know he was deaf at the time. Because he is deaf, he's going to need someone who's going to be quite dominant towards him and meaningful, because he can't understand commands properly. It's a case of learning him new ways of doing it with your hands. Archie seems really well behaved with other dogs. He is quite boisterous towards them play-wise. With Archie, I don't think he should be rehomed to children of a young age, maybe more of a teenage age. Not because he's nasty, aggressive, because he's so playful and bouncy. He does a lot of mouthing. So out of his best interest, I would rather him be rehomed to a family with children suitable of the age of maybe from 13 onwards. Because he's good with sitting and things. So for basic sit, sit, sit. 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 Good boy. With Archie's training, he's going to need someone with patience and commitment. It is going to take a lot of hard work with him to get him to understand like sign language with your hands, but he's a very, very clever dog and he's really willing to learn. So yeah.
I'll be honest, you can't resist that charming little chap, can you? Now, Mayflower has recently undergone some major refurbishment of 2 of the kennel blocks, so I met up with Jenny to tell me how it's coming along.
The building work that we're doing at present is refurbishing our very, very first 2 dog houses. They become very tired. We've been here 13, 14 years now, so they had become very, very tired. The underfloor heating had stopped working, and the floors desperately needed relaying. So we've had a grant, we had some help from Adoption for Pets, who've donated half the money to us. And the refurbishment work is halfway through at the moment. I think we've got another 3 weeks to go before they'll be completed.
Well, it all goes to make life as pleasant as possible for the dogs as they await their forever homes, doesn't it? Now, all rescue dogs are special, but some dogs are extra special, and Jimmy is one such dog, so this is his story. Jimmy was found unconscious at the side of a road in Cyprus, having been hit by a lorry and just left for dead. He got taken to a local vet's practice where they put him in a coma for a week, and when he regained consciousness, they found he was now paralysed from the waist down. Now, there are no facilities in Cyprus to care for disabled dogs, so Christina Muller, who is a part-time groomer at the vet's, got to know him and spent some time with him. It broke her heart as she just watched him just ignored in his cage day after day, so she decided to try and help him. She and a friend got together to make a video to promote his cause on social media, and also contacted the Mayflower Sanctuary to see if they could help. Let's check it out. Despite already having 3 dogs of her own, she took him home with her, where her other dogs happily welcomed him into the pack. She had no previous experience with disabled dogs, and he was in a terrible state. His legs and back end were full of sores as he was dragging himself about, and she had to put him in doggy nappies and learn to wrap his legs to protect them. But it didn't stop him getting into mischief, chewing his adopted mum's shoes. His disability didn't stop him joining in the rough and tumble with the other dogs either, and he could go at quite a speed keeping up with them. After spending 3 months with her, news came through that he was now fit to fly to the UK for possible treatment. He arrived at the Mayflower Animal Rescue Centre in Doncaster, where he remained in their care until he was rehomed. Jenny takes up the story. How did you first hear about Jimmy?
We were contacted by a veterinary nurse where Jimmy was taken when he was found run over on the side of the motorway in Larnaca in Cyprus. They'd heard of the project that Mayflower and Cyprus have. We've been trying to help a couple of pounds that are run by English people in Cyprus for about 5 or 6 years now. And so she'd heard of the work we do and contacted us to say that Jimmy had recovered from his accident, but he didn't have any sort of future there, and we did hope that maybe we could we hope that our vets would eventually be able to do something for Jimmy's injuries.
Right, so how long was it until he arrived here with you?
I think it was about 3 months from them speaking to us in the first instance, and then his pet passport had to be done, and he had to have checks and rabies checks and vaccinations done. And then he was flown into Robin Hood Airport, where we collected him.
Oh, so what was involved in transporting him over here then?
We already have facilities with Thompson's. They're very charitable at Thompson's. And so all our dogs are usually transferred into Robin Hood Airport from Larnaca Airport. So he came in a ready-made crate because it was a bit bigger than the normal size crates for him. And when we opened up the front of the crate, there he was. If he could have smiled, he would have done. Quite happy.
And so he coped okay with the flight?
Extremely. No different to any other dog that we've had coming from Cyprus. Right. None at all.
So because he's got a pet passport, then he doesn't need a quarantine?
No. They have to be rabies vaccinated and checked, which is 21 days rather than the old-fashioned 6 months that it used to be.
Right, and what condition was he in when he arrived here?
He was well and healthy in himself. He was quite a bonny dog, to say what he'd been through, a very bonny dog. Full of confidence, cheeky, not at all what we were expecting, not at all.
So how did he adjust to being here then?
It was as if he'd been here all his life. It was amazing, absolutely amazing. We brought him back. We had a specialist extra large puppy pen made for him, and a big floor cushion that was 5 or 6 inches thick, so he wouldn't hurt his bones. And he sort of slotted in as if, oh, this is for me. Okay, that's fine. This is quite nice. And we had him in the playroom, so we had glass all the way around, so he could watch the world go by. And so there was a lot to take to interest him, and vice versa with people seeing him. So we had lots and lots of visitors. Probably the most visited dog we've ever had here.
So what did you do to treat him then?
At first he saw our vet who x-rayed him, who didn't hold much hope out for anything that we could do. So when we had him referred to a specialist spinal vet who x-rayed him again more deeply, and they said the same. And this obviously didn't happen right away. It took weeks to organise. And I think we'd probably come to terms with the fact that maybe how he will always be how he will be, and maybe there isn't anything we can do. Although initially that's what I hoped. I hoped that when he came to England, maybe there were things that we could do. Maybe in other countries don't have the facilities, but no, that wasn't so. That there wasn't anything else we could do. We did contact it since initially it came to us. We have contacted a couple of specialist vets who have both seen the x-rays and said, no, unfortunately, how he is how he will be.
Right. So what were his specific injuries then?
His injuries are on the spine, on the low part of his spine, where it's not connected, which means that he's not only incontinent, which is the sad part really, but that he doesn't have a lot of feelings, in fact almost none, in his back legs.
Right. So how did you decide to get him a doggy wheelchair then?
Well, we wanted him to be a bit more mobile. We wanted him to make his life a little bit more interesting for him. And so although we had to wear, he wore nappy pads, which was absolutely fine. He got used to those very quickly. We had him out measured up, and a company made his wheels for him. In fact, the first set, he liked them; they were fine. We thought we could better it, so we had two sets of wheels, and the second pair were a lot easier to slot him in and make his legs comfortable. And he would have run away. He would have run away if he could. If we didn't have a lead on him, he would have gone. Amazingly. He has a fantastic life.
Right. So how much do they cost then?
I think they were roughly around £140–150, but the company were very supportive.
Right. But when you think that's not a great amount of money.
No, it isn't really.
No. It can give a
In
dog
comparison.
a whole new life.
Yes, exactly. That's why a second pair wasn't out of the question, really. A second set of wheels
Will he
wasn't.
need more as he gets older?
I don't think so, because he won't grow anymore now. He's probably about 3 years old now, so he won't grow any bigger.
Right.
So no, I think unless new types of wheels come out and they found better ways for animals to use them, then I think probably the wheels he has are the ones that he's quite happy with at the moment.
Right. And they will last him for the rest of his life.
And yes, unless, as I say, other ones come out with more facilities on,
sure.
then yes, they will.
Sure. So what difference has it made to his life?
What difference did it make?
Yes.
Well, it gave him something to look forward to. All dogs like a walk. It doesn't matter how short or long it is. They all like a walk. And he's no different. He looked forward to going out every day, 2 or 3 times a day, as often as we could. So it just changed his life in that respect. But I'm sure if we never walked him, he would still be a happy bunny.
Yeah.
He would still be a happy dog. It just as it does all dogs, it gives them something to look forward to, makes their life more interesting, and he meets people and other dogs.
Yeah. They need that.
Absolutely.
Socialising.
Absolutely. And he needs to be socialised. Yeah.
So how difficult was it to find him a forever home, given that he's doubly incontinent as well?
Well, I think it wasn't so much that he can't walk. It was the incontinence that I think must be an awful lot of hard work for his owner. And although lots of people came to see him and heard of his plight and donated towards both his sets of wheels, I think we've probably given up on thinking, okay, maybe he has to spend his days here. We'll make them as best we can. We advertised for a full-time carer for him, so someone that came and spent loads of time with him and socialised with him with other dogs, even when he wasn't out walking. And out of the blue, a wonderful lady came and said she'd seen photographs of him and heard about him, and was genuinely interested. She has a pet walking service of her own, so she was doggy minded. She got 2 Labradors of her own, and her dogs are very well socialised. So we took it a step at a time. She came and spent time with him, took him out on his wheels, and then slowly over the course of the weeks, she brought her dogs, and they were introduced together and they walked together. And we could not have found him a better home. Nowhere in the world could have given him a better home.
That's fantastic.
Absolutely wonderful. Wonderful lady.
Yeah.
Yes.
So does he spend all his day in the wheels?
No. The wheels need space. You know, so obviously, if he's in a small environment like a small lounge, then he wouldn't be in his wheels, and I think he probably needs respite from them anyway. You know, same as your dog would lie on the lounge carpet. He's no different, or he'll be on the sofa. As long as he's got his nappy pads on, it's you know, it's not an issue. But he can drag himself around, which we tried not to happen because we didn't want his legs being bruised or marked. But no, he's active the same as any dog. He just can't run like most dogs.
But we've seen a photograph here of him running on the beach.
Yes, isn't that wonderful?
Which is absolutely fantastic.
Amazing. And does he look a happy dog? Yeah.
He's an amazingly happy dog.
Yes,
He really
yes.
is. Who definitely deserved a chance for another life.
Absolutely. As you know, all dogs do, but some just need that little bit extra, and he was one of them.
Yeah.
And we don't regret it for 1 second.
No, I'm
No.
sure you don't. So is he the most needy dog that you've ever had to look after?
We've had 2 very needy dogs, but yes, probably the most needy. Yes, probably.
Right.
I mean, we've had a lot of dogs pass through Mayflower, so it's difficult to answer that honestly. You know, this is our 15th year, but most certainly he was one of the most rewarding.
Yes, I'm sure it was.
Absolutely.
Your centre rescues many dogs from Cyprus and around the world. So do they have a language barrier?
No, most of the dogs that we rescue, we have dogs from 2 in particular pounds in Cyprus. One is a Nicosia pound and the other is Paralimni pound. The Paralimni pound in particular was started by some English ladies that live there, and so they haven't found it a problem, and neither do we. To be honest, most of the dogs that come from Cyprus belong to English people.
Right.
They're English people that for whatever reason maybe have had to come back to England and couldn't bring their dog or couldn't afford to bring their dog, and so we've helped the pounds in that respect, as we would anywhere.
Right. So what would you say to people who would suggest that maybe it might have been kinder to have put Jimmy to sleep as opposed to giving him a chance of a life like this?
I think people who doubted us should see this photograph.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. It's amazing. So let's see how Jimmy, now called Ollie, is getting on.
Well, I got to meet up with Jimmy again today, which is exactly 2 years to the day that I first met him. And he's looking absolutely great, which is down to the love and care of his mum, Debbie. Since she adopted him, he's had holidays, he's been swimming, he's wears designer jumpers and has nights by the fire and has wonderful birthdays and Christmas. Absolutely great. They're an absolute inspiration to anyone thinking of adopting a disabled dog. So what an amazing story and a fantastic success for the care and dedication from the staff here at Mayflower. Now, a massive amount of work goes on behind the scenes every day as the staff care for the cats and dogs. So I asked Tracy to tell me what their routine is for a typical day.
Right, our day starts at 8 o'clock in the morning. We get here and let all the dogs out into their outside runs. And then it's feeding time, noisy time. So we put the dogs outside while they're having their food, so then we can clean inside. It usually takes about 2 hours, 2.5 hours to clean all the kennels. And once all the outside inside of the kennels is cleaned and all fresh water put down, we let the dogs back in and we clean the outside of the kennels. Then once all that is done, it's walkies time. And we try to get every single dog out every day. It isn't easy some days when we're busy. Then after lunch, the dogs get the free run of inside and outside of their runs for visitors to come round. All the dogs have got to be on show for visiting. Once visiting's finished, it's feeding time yet again. We put all the dogs outside in their runs, and while they're having their food, we're setting their beds up, because they have different bedding through the night and through the day. Make sure all water's filled, everything's clean. Treats are put down, because the dogs need the treats to go to bed with.
Oh no, wasn't that sweet? Aren't they just so cute? Well, sadly that brings us to the end of the series about Mayflower Sanctuary, so I hope you've enjoyed meeting all the beautiful dogs and the amazing staff who work here. Now, if you're able to offer a home to any of the dogs featured in the series, or any that are currently resident, contact details are coming right up. Remember, your reward will be their lifelong love, devotion and lots of doggy kisses. So coming up soon and It's a Dog's Tale, I'm going to introduce you to some owners who adopted dogs from Greece. You won't want to miss it. See you next time.